Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining the 21st Century webinar, the Zoom meeting. We will begin in approximately 8 minutes. Good afternoon. We will begin in approximately 5 minutes. I ask that everyone please mute your line so that we can eliminate the background noise. It appears that we're getting some background noise from someone that may be logged in via the web or a webcam. Thank you so much. We will start shortly. Good afternoon, and welcome to the mandatory pre-proposal conference for the 21st Century RFP. I just want to do a quick check for those who have access to the chat. If you can hear me clearly, please raise your hand. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we are up, operating, and functioning at full capacity, and you guys can hear the presentation. Again, this is the 21st Century Community Learning Center's pre-proposal conference. First, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your afternoon to join us to learn more about the 21st Century RFP. And we have an agenda for those of you who are seeing the slides. We have an agenda here. We're going to do welcome and introductions. We're going to take care of some housekeeping matters. And then we're going to dive into an overview of the RFP and the various sections that are included. Again, welcome. In the room with me, my name is Kenya Jenkins. I'm the Director of the Division of Grants Management. And here in the room, I have my colleagues, Ms. Terry Bird, Mr. Randy Littleton, and Mr. Ethan Leonard. We are all here to do our best and to provide you with the support you need during this RFP process. A few housekeeping matters as we get started. We want you to know that there are some pre-proposal questions that we can answer, but understand that although these questions are being asked in an impromptu setting, and we are permitted to give you spontaneous answers during this pre-proposal conference, the only official answer or position of the state will be stated in writing in response to written questions. Potential applicants should submit all questions in writing, even if an answer has already been given to an oral question. Again, we can answer questions in this impromptu setting, but based upon the statement that I just read, they are considered unofficial. If you want an official response, you will have to put those in writing to the RFP coordinator. Okay, RFP overview. Part 1, the purpose of the 21st century RFP. So we put this solicitation out in an effort to obtain competitive proposals from qualified applicants who are interested in establishing a 21st century community learning center. A little background on 21st century, the program was amended by Congress as Title IV, Part B of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act and the Every Student Succeeds Act of 2015. The purpose of the program is to provide opportunities for communities to establish or expand activities in community learning centers that, 1, provide opportunities for academic enrichment, including providing tutorial services to help students, particularly students who attend low-performing schools. 2, offer students a broad array of additional services, programs, and activities such as youth development activities, service learning, nutrition, health education, drug and violence prevention, and so on. And 3rd, offer families of students served by the community learning centers opportunities for active and meaningful engagement in their children's education, including opportunities for literacy and related educational development. The next slide is a slide of the schedule of events. You have the public release of the RFP and the post to LAPAC that has already taken place. You have an option of 3 of the mandatory pre-proposal conferences. Participation is only required in 1. Then you notice the deadline for the receipt of written inquiries is April 16th. The deadline to answer written inquiries will be April 23rd. The deadline for receipt of proposals will be May 8th, 2019, no later than 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. The application review period will be from May 2019 to July 2019. And then there's a review period by the Division of Administration, notice of intent to award, and 14-day protest period begins on or about between July 2019 and August 2019. The RFP is located in 2 places. It is on the LAPAC website in PDF format, and it is on the department's website at louisianabelieves.com in the Word format. Proposal submission. There is a proposal checklist on page 77 of the RFP that should be an integral part of this process for you. The proposal must be received by the RFP coordinator on or before the date and time specified in the schedule of events. No fax or email submissions will be accepted, and applicants mailing their proposals should allow sufficient mail delivery time to ensure receipt of their proposal by the time specified. The proposal package must be labeled with the name and number of the RFP on the package for identification purposes and delivered at the proposer's expense. If you are hand delivering your application, please allow at minimum 30 to 60 minutes for building security checks. You will need to present a photo ID to the guard station in the lobby for entrance. Also, for proposal submission, you will need specified numbers of proposals. 1, you will need 2 fully complete original signed proposals in blue ink. No staples, no binders. We understand that you all like to make the proposals look pretty and look their best, but those aren't things that we need at this time. Please label this original as 21st CCLC 19 original. Number 2, 1 electronic copy of the original signed proposal on USB flash drive. Label this copy as 21 CCLC 19 original electronic copy. Then you will need 4 anonymized or blind electronic copies on 4 individual USB flash drives. Blind copies must be completely redacted electronically. Failure to do so will deem the application ineligible and it will not be reviewed. Please review these copies before submitting to make sure that all identifying information is redacted. There should not be any personal identifiable information that would allow a reviewer to know whose proposal they are reviewing. Again, these are blind copies. Label these copies 21st CCLC 19, blind copy number 1, blind copy number 2, blind copy number 3, and blind copy number 4. Examples of redacted information are outlined on this slide, and examples of redacted information is also located in the proposal, in the RFP itself. Eligibility qualifications. Local education agencies, or LEAs, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, other public or private entities, or a consortia of such agencies, organizations, or entities shall be eligible to receive funds to provide services to low-income students and their families. Individual public schools shall not submit a proposal. They must apply through their LEA or other eligible entity and will be funded in only one contract. Public charter schools must apply for 21st CCLC funding under their 501c3 nonprofit. Public charter schools that operate multiple LEAs will be funded in only one contract. Proposals must be submitted by a lead proposer, which, if awarded a contract, will become that prime contractor or that fiscal agent. The Veteran in Hudson Initiative Program. The State of Louisiana Veteran in Hudson initiatives are designed to provide additional opportunities for Louisiana-based small entrepreneurship, sometimes referred to as LEVETs and SEs, respectively, to participate in contracting and procurement with the state of Louisiana. A certified veteran-owned and service-connected disabled veteran-owned small entrepreneurship, or LEVET, and a Louisiana Initiative for Small Entrepreneurship, Hudson Initiative. Small entrepreneurships are businesses that have been certified by the Louisiana Department of Economic Development. Up to 12% of the total evaluation points on this RFP are reserved for proposers who are, 1, themselves a certified veteran or Hudson Initiative participant, or who will engage the participation of one or more certified veteran or Hudson Initiative participants. Please see page 90 of the RFP for the Veteran Hudson Initiative form. The blackout period. The blackout period is a specified period of time during a competitive sealed procurement process in which any proposer, bidder, or its agent or representative is prohibited from communicating about the affected procurement with any state employee or contractor of the state involved in any step in the procurement process. The blackout period begins upon the posting of the solicitation and will end when the contract is awarded by BESI. All question and inquiries should go to the RFP coordinator as stated in the RFP. The inquiries, written inquiries, must be received by April 16, 2019, no later than 2 p.m. Central Standard Time as specified in the schedule of events. Responses to those inquiries will be posted to the LAPAC website by April 23, 2019. And the inquiries must be received at the email listed rfp_LDE@la.gov. Again, that address is rfp_LDE@la.gov, G-O-V. Proposal information. Proposal rejection and ownership of the proposal. Issuance of this RFP in no way shall constitute a commitment by the state to award a contract. The state shall reserve the right to accept or reject in whole or part all proposals submitted and or cancel this RFP if it is determined to be in the state's best interest. All materials submitted in response to this RFP shall become the property of the state. Selection or rejection of the proposal shall not affect this right. The state shall not be liable for any costs incurred by applicants prior to issuance of or entering into a contract. Costs associated with developing the proposal, preparing for oral presentations, and other expenses incurred by the proposer in responding to this RFP shall be entirely the responsibility of the proposer and shall not be reimbursed in any manner. Part 2, Scope of Work and Services. Eligible applicants, as stated, can be any public or private organization that meets the eligibility criteria, can apply for 21st century funding. Again, this includes your local education agencies, community-based organizations, Indian tribe or tribal organization, any other public or private entity, or a consortium of 2 or more such agencies, organizations, or entities are eligible to receive funds to provide services to low-income students and their families. All applicants must target students who primarily attend eligible for Title I school-wide programs under Section 1114 of ESSA and the families of such students. To be eligible for this grant, at least 70% of the students an applicant is proposing to serve must attend schools implementing comprehensive supports and improvement activities or targeted support and improvement activities which fall under Section 1111D of ESSA, or other schools determined by the local education agency to be in need of intervention and support to improve student academic achievement and other outcomes. And the students must be students who may be at risk for academic failure, dropping out of school, involvement in criminal or delinquent activities, or who lack strong positive role models. In Louisiana, those comprehensive and targeted support schools are called CIR and UIR schools. Comprehensive intervention required or urgent intervention required. Applicants should refer to the list of Louisiana CIR and UIR schools that meet eligibility requirements. The total funding to be released for this RFP is approximately $17 million, contingent on Louisiana's federal award for quality applications to operate a 21st CCLC program within the state. Applicants may request funds ranging from a minimum of $50,000 to a maximum of $800,000 annually. Requests for funding should be based upon a maximum per pupil cost of $1,500 per student. Required staffing under this RFP. Applicants must budget salary for 3 required staff positions. 1, a full-time project director. 1 dedicated full-time project director qualified to manage day-to-day and overall operations, ensure compliance with all grant requirements, and lead the program through a process of continuous improvement. The second is an educational liaison. The hours for this person should not exceed 30 hours per week. It will be 1 dedicated person qualified to manage all of the academic components of the program. 3, site coordinators. Hours not to exceed 1 hour prior to programming and 1 hour after programming. 1 dedicated person for each site qualified to manage the design and implementation of all site-level activities. Again, these are 3 required positions under this RFP. The project director, education liaison, and site coordinators positions can only be filled by 1 person per position. Lead teachers or other administrators acting in capacities during the school day cannot satisfy the requirements of these positions. There is an exception for grants that only operate 1 site. 1 person may be responsible for both the project director and site coordinator responsibilities. We understand that they have different duties and have different processes and procedures than those that may have 4 sites. Types of proposals. Before we move to types of proposals, we will now begin our roll call. We are now preparing to take the official roll call. I will pause for a moment while we prepare. Roll call is now opened. I have typed it into the chat box. If you are logged into the Zoom meeting via computer through the use of the chat box feature, we ask that you now, at this time, and it may be the second time for some of you, please type your agency name that will be submitting a proposal and your full name into the chat box. Again, for those of you that are logged into the Zoom meeting via computer, through the use of the chat box feature, please type your agency name that will be submitting a proposal and your full name into the chat box. If you are dialed in by phone only, I will call the last 4 digits of the phone number listed as participating twice. I will then unmute your line, and at that time, you will need to verbally provide the agency name that will be submitting a 21st century proposal and your full name. One more time, if you are dialed in by phone only, I will call the last 4 digits of the phone number listed as participating twice. I will then unmute your line, and at that time, you will need to verbally provide the agency name that will be submitting a 21st century proposal and your full name. If anyone is participating in the Zoom meeting via participation through the Zoom app via smartphone or tablet, the grants management staff will send you a private chat to obtain your participants' information and your agency name. So at this time, I will begin to call the last 4 digits of the phone numbers, and I will unmute you so that you can give us your name and the agency name. Last 4 digits, 9676. 9676. I'm unmuting you now.
C. Yvette Thomas, Empowering Minds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Last 4 digits, 7175. 7175. I will unmute your line.
Anita DuBois, Natchez Parish School Board.
Thank you, Anita.
You're welcome.
Last 4 digits, 2934. 2934. I'm going to unmute your line. Your line has been unmuted. Last 4 digits, 0368. 0368. I'm unmuting your line.
Hello?
Yes. Can you give your name and the agency?
Did you get it?
Last 4 digits, 34
Hey, this is Maria Teresa Yabut from Morehouse Parish School Board Office.
Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
Last four digits, 2934. 2934. I'm unmuting your line. Anyone representing last
Yes.
four digits, 2934.
Yes, Judy Daniels,
And what's your agency, Ms. Daniels?
Hampton Community Development Center.
Campty Community Development Center.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Last four digits, 6221. 6221. I'm unmuting your line.
Donna Besser, Kingsley House.
The last name again?
Besser, Betzer.
Okay, Kingsley House. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last four digits, 8734. 8734. I'm unmuting your line.
James E. Green, Educational Solutions of Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Last four digits, 0368. 0368. I'm going to unmute your line.
Brosette Education and Management. Alvin Brosette speaking.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brosette.
You're welcome.
Last four digits, 5374. 5374. I'm going to unmute your line.
Shermel Hayden, Jefferson Parish Public School District.
Can you spell your first name for us, please?
Yes, SHIRMEL.
Thank you. Thank you for all of those with that were dialed in by phone. We've finished unmuting all of you. For everyone else that can see the screen, the official roll call document, if you have not been checked off as meeting participation, please raise your hand via chat. Again, for those that have access to the chat, if you have not been marked off on the official roll call as of yet that you can see on the screen, please raise your hand. And give us one moment while we make sure we have everyone accounted for. Thank you for your patience while we reconcile our list. We are going to pause the sharing of this screen and officially end roll call. Again, the team is making reconciliation with what you see on the screen versus what we have in the chat. So we will make sure that we have everyone accounted for. At this time, we will officially close roll call. I will be typing that into the chat box so that everyone can see that, and then we will move forward with the presentation. Again, thank you for your patience, and we will make sure before everyone is off the line that we have fully reconciled the list with everyone that is in participation. One brief moment while I put the presentation back up. Okay, as we begin back with the presentation, we ended on the types of proposals. So there are two types of proposals that can be submitted. And this information should be included as part of your cover letter that you submit. You will either be writing a proposal for a traditional program, which is considered program activities held during non-school hours and periods when school is not in session, which would be before school, after school, and during summer breaks. And summer programming is required for all funded 21st CCLC centers. Or you could be submitting a proposal for an expanded learning time proposal, programs held during the regular school day when schools have extended the day, week, or year in which school is in session, and program activities held outside of the academic calendar year, and separately from any regularly scheduled summer session. Again, this information should be included in your cover letter, whether you are submitting a traditional proposal or a proposal for expanded learning time. There are also this year two types of applicants, and this should be included in your cover letter as well. New applicants. A new applicant is identified or defined as any group, agency, or organization that has never had 21st CCLC program funds in Louisiana. Never had 21st century funds in Louisiana. Or a veteran applicant, which is a 21st CCLC grantee that has previously received grant funds and need to support to sustain the organization's after-school program past the original grant award period. Again, you're a new applicant or a veteran applicant. And this information, along with the type of proposal, will be included in your cover letter. Curriculum and instructional materials. Selecting and implementing a high-quality curriculum in the classroom has been the biggest impact on the quality of student learning. To do so requires the curriculum to be connected to the standards-aligned assessments students take and the training that teachers receive. When these three pieces, curriculum, assessments, and professional development, work together, students are more likely to reach the expectations of the academic standards. In an effort to align 21st century the academic component to the state's curriculum initiative, if using 21st CCLC funding to purchase curriculum and instructional materials, grantees will be required to purchase and utilize Tier 1 curriculum and instructional materials. Instructional materials are one of the most important tools educators use in the classroom to enhance student learning. The required minimum hours of programming. Under the traditional platform, if you submit your proposal that way, projects that serve elementary and middle school students will operate for a minimum of 30 weeks, 8 to 10 hours per week, with a total of 240 to 300 hours per site. Projects serving high school must operate for a minimum of 30 weeks, 6 to 8 hours per week, with a total of 180 to 240 hours per site. The required summer programming projects must operate for a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks, 4 hours per day, with a total of 60 to 80 hours per site. If you're submitting a proposal under expanded learning time, ELT is the time that an LEA or school extends its normal school day, week, or year to provide additional instruction or educational programs for all students beyond the state-mandated requirements for the minimum hours in a school day, days in a school week, or days or weeks in a school year. An applicant may choose to submit an ELT proposal thus applying to use 21st CCLC funds to conduct activities during the school day in a school that previously expanded its school day, week, or year. ELT applicants must submit a plan with the 21st CCLC grant application addressing the required components of a comprehensive ELT plan. Plan requirements are on page 34 of the RFP. The minimum hours for an ELT program. Applicants seeking 21st CCLC funds for ELT programs must provide all students at the school with at least 300 additional program hours before, during, or after the traditional school day programming, in accordance with the submitted comprehensive ELT plan and including a summer program. Again, ELT programs must provide all students at the school with at least 300 additional program hours above and beyond your regular school day. ELT school year required hours, 180 hours between August and May, and ELT summer required hours, 120 hours from May to July. 21st CCLC program overview. This section will dive a little deeper into some of the requirements that you need to take into consideration when putting together a proposal. 21st CCLC centers shall be located in elementary or secondary schools or other similarly accessible facilities. All 21st CCLC centers must have a designated program office space with posted hours, locations, and a master activity schedule. The program must have appropriate equipment, security, resources, and a clear strategy for the safe transport of students to and from the center and home. The center must meet all OSHA, ADA, and other relevant federal and state facility requirements. In Louisiana, background checks shall be required for all staff working with students. Potential subgrantees must make provisions for children to have nutritional snacks, are strongly encouraged to establish a local 21st CCLC advisory focus group composed of students, teachers, parents, community agencies, and the private sector, must report program data annually to the United States Department of Education via the 21 APR system, must also utilize the state's web-based tracking system, which documents all activities funded under the program, attend approved national and state conferences. 21st CCLC services, program, and activities. Each eligible organization that receives an award shall use the funds to carry out a broad array of additional services, programs, and activities. Some of those could include academic enrichment. Those are tutorial services to help students who attend low-performing schools. You could have youth development activities, service learning activities, nutrition and health education, drug and violence prevention programs, art and music education activities, and so on. Please note that this is not an exhaustive list. All 21st CCLC programs are expected to meet or exceed at least the first 2 participant performance measures. Program monitoring, end-of-year reporting, and future funding will focus on improving performance year to year on the following measures. 1, students regularly participating in the program will meet or exceed state and local academic achievement standards in reading and math. 2, students regularly participating in the program will show improvement in the performance measures of school attendance, classroom performance, and/or reduced disciplinary referrals. Number 1 and 2 are required. Number 3, participants in the 21st CCLC programs will demonstrate additional positive educational, social, and behavioral changes. Grantees are permitted to examine or compare student outcomes in a variety of ways. Methods and tools for measuring indicators or outcomes may include 1, comparisons of an individual student's academic records, 2, attendance and behavior before and after program participation, and 3, comparisons of program participants' achievement and behavior with that of comparison groups. The critical end result is that applicants are expected to demonstrate how students' academic performance will be improved as a result of high-quality academic enrichment opportunities that will be provided. Grantees must provide services that meet the federal principles of effectiveness, are expected to improve student achievement, are combined or coordinated with other federal, state, and local programs for the most effective use of public resources and respond to identified community needs. Funding shall not supplant activities funded through MFP. Religious activities of any kind shall not be allowed. Fiscal manager requirements. Grantees must hire an individual to serve as a fiscal manager or bookkeeper to ensure accurate record keeping and appropriate supporting documentation. The fiscal manager or bookkeeper must meet one of the minimum qualifications below. 1, a baccalaureate degree with a minimum of 24 hours of business-related courses, such as accounting, finance, or management. A certified public accountant licensed in Louisiana. Or 3, a master's degree in public or business administration. The fiscal manager must meet one of those criteria. The following regulations shall be applicable to Louisiana's 21st Century Program, the Federal Education Department's General Administrative Regulations, or EDGAR, the 4th edition, in the Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost Principles, Audit Requirements for Federal Awards. The EDGAR link is there on the slide for you. Allowable expenses. All expenditures must be consistent with applicable state and federal laws, regulations, and guidance. Salaries for 21st CCLC Project Director, Education Liaison, and Site Coordinators. Again, these should be reasonable and in line with the industry standard. Tutors and paraprofessionals. Contractors such as the fiscal manager, your auditor, enrichment contractors, your independent evaluator, where your criminal background check, supplies and materials, computer, software, and hardware, all of these things are allowable expenses. But again, they must be reasonable, necessary, and allocable. Project funds may not be used to supplant existing programs and/or funding. The supplanting provision does not prohibit federal funds from being used to continue programs where a previous federal grant has ended and other federal, state, or local funds would not have been available. Applicants cannot duplicate services and/or target populations. As a general rule, program funds may be used only to cover costs that 1, comply with the approved grant application and budget, and 2, are reasonable and necessary for the proper and efficient performance and administration of the grant. The budget must clearly reflect the program design. For example, it is not sufficient to list transportation in the budget if it is not described in the program design section of the narrative. You want to ensure that your narrative and your budget are in alignment. Grantees must budget for equipment and technology expenses in the first 2 years of the grant. For the 3rd and final year of the grant, equipment and supply expenses must be prorated based upon the percentage of use. A maximum of 1% of each 21st CCLC budget must be spent on parenting skill programs that promote parental involvement and family literacy and family engagement activities. This could include family engagement, parent leadership, family literacy, parent education programs such as GED courses, English as a second language courses, computer technology courses, and other courses depending upon the participating parents and their needs in their community. Applicants are not permitted to divest more than 20% of the total grant award to any single entity, including but not limited to partners, collaborators, or sub-grantees. Applicants must maintain direct control of 51% of the total grant award or more during the entire grant cycle. Applicants are not allowed to divest oversight of the program administration or implementation to another agency. This includes, but is not limited to, existing 21st CCLC programs and other agencies in a sub-grant process. These funds may not be used as a pass-through to another agency to operate a 21st CCLC program. Fiscal audit and evaluation costs. The fiscal audit and evaluation shall not exceed the sum total of $15,000 annually for program evaluation and audits. There is a $5,000 max for program evaluation and a $10,000 max for audits. If the entity receives $750,000 or more per fiscal year in federal awards, a fiscal audit shall be required. These expenses must be approved by LDOE staff and will not be noted as administrative costs in this grant. Indirect or administrative costs for school systems shall be at a fixed federal rate. Indirect costs for private, nonprofit organizations shall be no more than 10%. Upon contract approval, LDOE will require documentation from the organization in order to calculate an IDC rate. Note, the combination of IDC and administrative costs cannot exceed 20%. Some unallowable expenditures. No part-time teachers or staff may exceed 29 hours per week. Prior written approval is needed from LDOE for any staff that exceeds 29 hours per week. Uniforms are unallowable expenses unless the program provides a 50% match with other funds. 21st CCLC funds will only be utilized once the 50% match is met and documentation of that match has been provided to LDOE. Preparation of the proposal, cost to develop, prepare, and/or write the 21st CCLC proposal cannot be charged to the grant directly or indirectly by either the agency or a subcontractor. Pre-award costs may not be charged against this grant. Funds can be used only for activities conducted and costs incurred after the start date of the grant. Please note that 21st CCLC funds cannot be used to pay for school-related and school-wide athletics or organized competitive sports activities, league fees, and all associated costs, salaries, or district dues, and are strictly prohibited and considered supplanting. Competitive or interscholastic sports costs are costs that would have been covered previously through other means and therefore prohibited under the 21st CCLC program supplement, not supplant, statutory requirements. Entertainment, refreshments, snacks. A field trip without a required academic support will be considered entertainment and not allowable. No overnight or out-of-state field trips are permitted. Please note that the 21st CCLC funds cannot be used to pay for school-related and/or school-wide athletics or organized competitive sports, again, league fees and all associated costs, salaries, or district dues, are strictly prohibited. This, again, is not an exhaustive list, and you can see pages 42 through 44 of the RFP for more information. Fees for service. Although federal law does not prohibit the charging of fees for participation in 21st CCLC programs, in order to ensure that the priorities of the 21st CCLC programs in Louisiana are not compromised, the LDOE prohibits charging any fees. There cannot be any fees collected for participation in 21st CCLC programs. No fees from schools, no fees from parents, no fees from students. Federal guidance clearly states that programs must be equally accessible to all students targeted for services, regardless of their ability to pay. Federal guidance further recognizes that the priority of the program is to serve poor students and families, and this could be compromised through the charging of program fees. Grantees must maintain 80% of their proposed student attendance numbers annually during each year of the grant. Failure to maintain 80% of the student attendance may result in award reductions to the allocation for the remainder of the grant period. Please note that 80% student attendance is directly correlated with the 30-day regular attendance indicator used in data collection systems created by the United States Department of Education. The regular attendee is defined for the purposes of federal reporting, refers to students who have attended a 21st CCLC program for at least 30 days or more, which do not have to be consecutive days. Proposal requirements. On the screen, you will see that there are 8 areas in which scores will take place. You have an abstract. The abstract has no score. The demonstration of need, there are 5 points in this area. Community notice and collaboration, which is comprised of private school, which is 5 points, and community collaboration, which is 5 points, for a total maximum score of 10. The project design and implementation, which includes the overall vision, 10 points, family engagement, 10 points, and performance measures and indicators, 10 points, for a maximum score of 30. Organizational leadership and management plan, 20 points. Project evaluation, 8 points. Sustainability, 5 points. Project cost, budget and budget forms, 10 points, which gives you a total sub-score of 88 points. And then you have up to 10 points available for the Hudson certified proposers, but up to 12 points available for the veteran certified proposers, which is 12 points. So the total eligible score is 100. Applicants must limit the program narrative to no more than 22 double-spaced pages. The minimum font size shall be no smaller than 12 points in a standard font, and ensure that you include page numbers and the applicant's name in the upper right-hand corner of every page. Please refer to pages 47 through 53 of the RFP for specific criteria instructions. Part 3, evaluation. Evaluation of the proposals. Proposals that pass the preliminary screening and mandatory requirements review will be evaluated based on information provided in the proposal period. Proposals found not to be in compliance will be found non-responsive and rejected from further consideration. Proposals shall be screened for adherence to the basic requirements such as proposal formatting, completeness of content and required forms, etc., to determine if the proposer addressed the minimum requirements. The evaluation of proposals will be accomplished by an external peer review evaluation team to be designated by the states which will determine the proposals most advantageous to the state. To maintain confidentiality of the reviewers, the department will not release their names or contact information. The Department of Education will ensure that reviewers are highly qualified individuals with a strong knowledge of research-based quality after-school programming and represent equitable gender, ethnic, and geographic diversity. Cost evaluation or budget review. The applicant must submit 3 12-month budgets. The applicant must use the budget summary and budget detail forms provided. The budget is to be separated by school year and summer. And if you're submitting an ELT proposal, then you should have ELT included as well. And a detailed description of each expenditure must be included. Reviewers will be scoring budgets based upon the alignment of items in the budget and how they connect to the need established in the proposal, reasonableness based upon narrative and budgeted expenditures, and allowability of the items listed in the budget. Funding priorities. Funding priorities will work different this year than they have in the past. In an effort to ensure equitable and reasonable distribution of 21st CCLC funds throughout the state, as it pertains to geographic diversity and/or to reduce the funding of multiple projects in a district or the submission of nearly identical proposals, a funding priority will be given to proposals that meet the following criteria. So funding priorities this year would include proposing a program for middle school students, proposing a program in a parish that is not served in cohort 9, proposing a program for high school students, proposing a program whose focus is STEAM, and proposing a program that targets Louisiana D or F or UIR schools. Instead of providing additional points, there will be additional funds provided for those who are attempting to meet any of these priorities. So instead of the traditional $1,500 per student cost, if you are proposing any of these funding priorities, you would receive $1,525 per student cost. Part 4, performance standards. After proposals are awarded, they will be expected to adhere to the framework. This framework is a part of the performance standards for 21st CCLC program. The framework looks at the programs in 3 specific areas: academic performance, attendance, and stakeholder satisfaction. And there are points associated with each of those areas. On the screen, you will see a snapshot of the after-school framework and what it entails. Attachments. I mentioned the checklist earlier, that it would be an integral part of your proposal and in checking your proposal. And on the screen, there is a snapshot here of the checklist and all of the information that will be required for submission. The various attachments. The first is the proposal cover page that is on page 78 of the RFP. On that page, you will list what type of organization you are. You will provide some basic contact information, and you will sign a certification statement. That certification statement, the person who signs that or the authorized signer must be signed in blue ink. Again, it must be signed in blue ink. Form AA. This is your funding priority page. It lists those funding priorities that are available that were just discussed. If you are proposing to serve any of these areas, you will need to complete the funding priority page. There is also a list of the cohort 9 parish list. So any parish that is not listed would be considered a parish that is not served in cohort 9. Form A, your partnering agencies form. This is to be completed as well, where you're going to list the name, address, and contact person of the partnering agencies that you work with. Each of the agencies must sign an MOU found on Form B, which must be submitted with the proposal. An agency, organization, or other entity that only provides services, usually for a fee, is considered a vendor. Anyone charging you is a vendor and not a partner. Do not include them on this form. A partner would not require fees. There can be an exchange of services, volunteers, and so forth. But if you are being charged a fee, that is a vendor and not a partner. So you would complete Form A accordingly. Form B is the MOU that you will be utilizing with your partners. And the instructions form that provides you instructions on Form A and Form B for your partnership letters, it is listed on page 82. Form C is your private school consultation form. You will complete this form for students that you plan to serve in private schools or who will want services at private schools in your attendance zone or in your area. And we're looking at area and attendance zone being within a 3 to 5 mile radius of your program. You would need to complete the form, have consultation with those private schools in your area, determine if they would like to receive services, and then move forward with completing Form C. Form D is your private school participating form. You would only use this form if you will be serving students in private schools. Form E is your program summary form with a noted 4 sites maximum. There is a 4-site maximum. You would complete this form and include it with your proposal. Form F, which is your fiscal manager bookkeeper qualifications form. You will need to make sure you read that form thoroughly and ensure that your manager or bookkeeper, fiscal manager or bookkeeper, meets those criteria that was listed in the RFP, and then you will complete that form and provide the documentation needed to support that form. The budget forms, they are Excel documents, and there is a link in the Word version of the RFP that links you to those forms. And again, the link was provided at the beginning of the presentation for the PDF version and the Word version. The Veteran Hudson form, you will need to complete that if you plan to utilize any of those points that may be available for the Veteran Hudson initiative. And then you have the performance goals and indicators template with instructions. And you will need to read that form as well, read that document, and know where to insert the required information that's needed for the performance goals and indicators template. Again, this is just an overview and a snapshot of the highlights of the RFP that we wanted to provide for you. At this time, I will allow you a few moments to gather your thoughts and type any questions you may have into the chat box, and we will do our best to read the question and provide you with an impromptu response to that question. As you realize, that is not official. Any official questions that you have must be submitted to the RFP coordinator in writing by the designated time indicated in the RFP. Again, but we do want to be able to provide you with some questions, some answers to some impromptu questions as we move through the process. So I'll allow you a few moments, and then I will come back and I will begin reading your questions and providing you with a response. I'm going to start taking some of your questions. I thank you for your patience and bearing with us as we go through the chat to try to answer some of these for you all. Okay, the first question is, can you explain further the requirements for community notice? So basically the law states for 21st Century that you have to provide the community that you're going to be providing services in notice that you're going to be doing a solicitation for this RFP. So you need to make sure that you would have had meetings in that community, that you make available in that community in some way, shape, form, or fashion your RFP to possibly be reviewed prior to submission, that you maybe spoken to community people in that area, making them aware that maybe you post signs of your expected solicitation of this RFP in general places in that community, for example, local churches, libraries, places where you will have the majority of community people coming in and out of, so that it gives them an opportunity to see that a solicitation is being submitted on their behalf. Okay. The next question. In the anonymized copies, do we also redact partner and school names? Really, we are concerned with not necessarily neighborhood or community organizations, but the individual name, the program name, or anything that may lead to the personal identifiable information. Note that the majority of our reviewers typically are out of state, so they're not necessarily familiar with community names, but they would know the name of an organization. Can a charter school be included in a public school district application if it's under the district's oversight? If a charter school is under the district's oversight and the district is that fiscal agent, then the application would have to come from that district. The maximum number of pages is 22 pages for the narrative. And again, that's just the narrative. That's not inclusive of any charts or the template that you have to include. Again, it's 22 pages. If you are an LEA, do we still need to fill out the fiscal form since we will be using our internal bookkeeper? The form notates, that particular section notates that that is not for LEAs. So in the RFP, please refer to the page that gives you those minimum qualifications, and above it, it does state that it's not, LEAs do not need to submit that form. Those requirements are requirements that LEAs use to hire their managers, so everyone will be aligned. Are only schools with the CIR and or UIR designation eligible? No. But you want to make sure that you're serving students who go to low-performing schools, typically our Title I eligible schools and students, in addition to those that are D, that are F, that are CIR and UIR. All of those are in these schools and students. Did I read correctly that no school administrator, including assistant principals, can serve as site coordinators? That is correct. That has always been the rule, that no principal, assistant principals, any administrator with oversight of the school should be serving in any capacity in the program. they are already on the campus in an administrative capacity, so this could be a form of supplanting if they're in this position. Can the education liaison and a data manager be considered the same position? That would be up to the program and how they determine the job duties and responsibilities of that educational liaison. So if that education liaison is also responsible for the academic oversight of the program, and that organization wanted to include data entry or data duties as well, that would be how they would write their job description to fill that position. So there would be nothing that would prohibit that from happening. Does the 29-hour-a-week limit only apply to part-time 21st CCLC staff? In the RFP, we do say we know that this is an after-school program, so there really should not be a ton of full-time people. Maybe the project director, the executive director are full-time. We know the education liaison stays within 30 hours, so everybody beyond that should be part-time. So as to not exceed 29 hours per week. Can a retired teacher serve as educational liaison as part-time staff? Yes. Using retired teachers in your area is actually encouraged. They know the population. They know the need of the population. They're probably familiar with the students in the school. So it's always a plus to have seasoned people on your team. Can the education liaison be split across different sites? Example, if we have 2 sites, can there be 2 educational liaisons? Well, if you're splitting them in 2 and you have 2 people doing 15 hours, I'm not sure how much bang you're getting for your buck, considering these people are supposed to manage the academic component of your program. But that would be something for you to think about if you want to have 2 part-time 15-hour, because you still can't exceed that 30-hour for one of them. So they couldn't both be 2 30-hour educational liaisons. If we are a veteran applicant, do we have to mention that in our cover letter? Yes. In the cover letter, you should provide to us what type of proposal you're submitting, traditional or ELT. And if you're a new applicant, meaning you've never ever had 21st Century in Louisiana before, or if you're a veteran applicant, even if you've been away from 21st Century 5, 6 years, you've had those funds before. If a church is used as a community site, will a daycare license be required? No, we don't require a daycare license if you're using a community type facility, but we have to make sure that that facility that you're utilizing is conducive for the program and will meet the needs academically and for your enrichment components as well. And that they meet all of the SEAL, OSHA, and ADA compliance related policies. The limits for the evaluator and the audit, $5,000 for your evaluation and $10,000 for your audit. In regards to the private school consultation, please utilize the form that has the instructions on what is needed. You will look at those private schools that are in your area or attendance zone, or that's considered a 3 to 5 mile radius of the program that you're operating. And you need to reach out to those schools to see if they have students who would be needing services being offered, would be interested in services, and you need to prove that you've had a consultation of sorts with them, and the form actually helps you to document that. If you reach out to those private schools and they decline, just make sure you have documentation of that. But please use Form C to work through your private school consultation. Again, if you have questions that you need an official response to, please send those questions to the RFP coordinator that is designated in the RFP, and you will receive written inquiry that will be posted when all of the written inquiries are posted to the LAPAC website. At this time, it looks like we have been able to go through the chat as much as we can and answer the questions that are there. We will be bringing this pre-proposal conference to a close. Please note that it is mandatory and you only have to participate once. So if you participated in this pre-proposal conference, you do not have to join for either of the others. They will be the same. There will not be any different information given. It will be the same PowerPoint presentation. All right. And what I will do is I'm going to pause this screen that you see, and I'm going to share that roster again so that we can make sure that we have everyone that has been participating that was on the line prior to the roll call, during the roll call, and before the roll call ended. Okay, the official webinar roll call is listed with the organization's name, the participant name, and the whether they met the RFP participation. I will scroll slowly just so that you all can make sure you see your name. If you do not, please make sure that you raise your hand so that we can get it resolved before we end the meeting. And for those of you that called in directly on the phone lines, we do have you all accounted for as well. If there is anyone that is not on the list, again, please raise your hand so that we can get some assistance. For everyone other than those that have their hands raised, thank you for your time. Feel free to leave the meeting. And for those of you that have your hands raised, we ask that you please stay on the line so that we can ensure that we have you accounted for. Thank you all, and I appreciate your time this afternoon.